Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, it's Dave, your host here on That a Podcast series. Hope you're doing well. We've talked about the back end of Spotify for creators. We've talked about the back end of Apple Podcasts. Now let's talk about YouTube, the big giant in the room, newer to podcasting specifically, but a giant nonetheless. And I think we need to be on Apple, we need to be on Spotify, and we need to be on YouTube. Those are your big three that I think every podcaster should really seriously consider. And if you're only on any one of just these three, you're missing the boat when it comes to your stats, your audience growth, reaching a larger audience. I think we need all three. Now, when it comes to YouTube, this gets podcasters a little bit up in arms because some podcasters completely embrace YouTube and some don't. Some are very adamant that they do not want anything to do with YouTube. They think that YouTube in podcasting is a crime and that you should never do this. You should never be here. Some people think that you have to only do video on podcasts. Some think it's okay to do audio on podcasts. Some like a hybrid of both. There's a lot of noise when it comes to podcasting and YouTube. And today we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about why YouTube would be a good idea for you and maybe why it might not be. And I'm glad you're here. So if you're not on YouTube currently for your podcast, perfect. Glad you're here. If you are, there's going to be some tips and tricks and things that you can do and things to be aware of, kind of to raise your awareness on how you can use YouTube better. Thanks for being here. So in the last couple episodes, you've heard me talk about Spotify and Apple and the back ends of both of those. You've heard me talk about the fact that some people don't like Spotify at all for whatever reason. And there's a lot of reasons why you might not like Spotify. And they've chosen to not have their podcasts on Spotify, which is really frustrating for people who use Spotify and can't find your show. So when you say, find me wherever you find podcasts, you should have a little caveat saying, and by the way, I'm not on Spotify, so don't look for me for my show there. I think it's a little bit, for my opinion, it's a little bit arrogant to say, I'm not going to be on a certain platform for whatever reason. And again, that's my choice. To say that, your choice to disagree, that's why we're friends. And for me, I like to be everywhere. I am not an Apple person. I've never been an Apple person. I'm not a fan of the Apple products and the Apple sphere. That's nothing I would ever be interested in. I will never, ever buy an Apple device. Yet, there's Apple Podcasts. And I would be foolish to ignore my listeners on Apple. That would be a terrible idea. So I did that episode around Apple Podcasts and why we should be there and the importance of having a view into the dashboard on Apple. And if you never go there, you don't know what you're talking about. And the big thing here, the underlying thing between Spotify for creators, Apple Podcast backend, and YouTube is that your podcast host, whatever you pick, Libsyn, Buzzsprout, Captivate, Spotify for creators, all of these are hosting sites where you're hosting your files and they're distributed to all these different players. If you only use the information given to you by those hosting sites, you're not getting the full and complete picture of your audience. You're missing opportunities for interaction, for growth, for knowing how long people listen to your episodes. And the granddaddy of stats and understanding your audience is YouTube. The amount of detail that you get from YouTube stats and analytics it completely darkens all of the other apps combined, because YouTube knows how to give you the goods about what's happening with your audience, what's happening with your content. So if you want to learn something about what's happening, you better go check out your YouTube stuff. And if you're not on YouTube, spoiler, you should be, because your audience is there. Your potential audience is there. And what's happened for me, which is exciting, is I've had people find me on YouTube. It's a great way to find stuff. Searchability on YouTube, stellar. Name, podcast name, topic, genre, niche, say niche in Canada, niche for my American friends. All of these things are highly searchable. Just try it. Go and type anything. Type butterflies in YouTube and bam, you got everything you need. So just type anything. Type how to podcast. Oh, guess what you're going to find? Somewhere in there, you'll find Dave. So it works. I've actually had people say, I found you on YouTube, and then I went over and I listened to you on Apple, or I listened to you on Audible, or I listened to you on Spotify. I found you on YouTube, and then I followed you over to another spot. It works, people. And if you're not on YouTube, you're missing an opportunity to connect with your audience, and you're missing an opportunity to learn from your audience through the analytics of YouTube. So my encouragement, my admonishment for every podcaster, whether you want to do video or not, that you should be on YouTube. You should, as a complement to your podcast on an RSS feed. Really simple syndication. That's what RSS stands for. And that's how your podcast goes from your host to Apple, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, blah, 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 fill in the blank. All these different places that play podcasts come from one host, one location, distributed to many. So I think YouTube is a great complement to an RSS feed. Really simple syndication. It's a great combination between the two. I don't think that you should just be on YouTube. And I don't think you should just have an RSS feed. I think you should have both. Because you're going to see and connect with people in different ways. And when you say to people, find me wherever you find a podcast, some people are looking for you on YouTube. So you're not meeting your potential audience when you're not there. So I'm encouraging everybody to have a YouTube channel. It's free with a Gmail account. That's how I've set up all mine. Set up your Gmail account. You get a free YouTube channel with that Gmail account. Set up your podcast on YouTube, brand it, give it a title, give it all the information that you would have in your podcast, and then create a playlist. That playlist is then turned into a podcast. You can connect your really simple syndication feed, your RSS feed, to YouTube directly. So every time you release an episode that goes to Apple and Spotify and Audible, it automatically goes to YouTube. You don't even have to touch it. It just automatically does it. So my encouragement for you is to set up a YouTube channel. If you don't have no idea what I'm talking about, that's why there's a website called howtopodcast.ca. It's in the name of the website, everyone. I can help you set up your YouTube channel and connect it all so you can just do what you want to do. And I think you need to be there because you're missing the boat if you're not. So let's talk about the YouTube back end, the stuff that you can see as a creator on YouTube. Specifically for podcasting. There's a lot of other stuff that you can see, but I want to just narrow in on why podcasting makes sense on YouTube and what you're going to see when you go behind the scenes, stuff that you can see about your audience that your audience can't see. They can't see this stuff. So the workflow behind YouTube is centered around YouTube Studio, which it treats podcasts as a distinct content type within the ecosystem of YouTube, where you can create a podcast playlist or upload an episode tagged as a podcast. And the platform unlocks analytics specific to podcasts consumption across YouTube and YouTube Music. Now, you want to be on both YouTube and YouTube Music. And to be on YouTube Music, you got to go through YouTube. So a lot of people don't talk about YouTube Music. It is a standalone app outside of the typical YouTube that you think of, and it's a great alternative to some of the other apps out there. Not used a lot by everybody, but it's there. And if you want to get on YouTube Music, you got to go through YouTube. Where podcasters navigate inside YouTube Studios, podcasters use content podcasts, and they manage all their podcast playlists and episode uploads in this location. There's analytics and content type podcast episodes. It filters data only for long form podcast content. There's comments. We can review and reply to comments on each episode, which Apple doesn't do. Remember, Spotify does. There's an audience tab where we can understand who is watching and listening and where. And if you can monetize when you get to a certain level, there's revenue reports and ad formats and a bunch of information there once you get to that point. Some key metrics that YouTube provides as first-party data. So remember, first-party data means it comes from the app itself, and no one else has vision to it to this degree. For YouTube, we can see watch time in hours. This is one of the most important metrics on YouTube, and this metric is how YouTube kind of measures success and where they promote, right? It indicates how long people stay engaged, and it's a core signal for the platform recommendations and how your channel grows. One of the things we talk about on the How to Podcast series many times is getting your audience to click play on your episode and stay to the very end. That is called retention rate. That is how long somebody stays with your episode. So you have let's do the easy math. You have a 1-hour podcast episode, and 90% of your audience presses play and leaves in the first 5 minutes. They're gone. So that means they only got a very tiny sliver of your content. They didn't even really make it through the intro for your episode, and they're gone. That's a bad retention rate. For some reason, they're not sticking around. YouTube favors long retention rates. YouTube loves when somebody presses play and stays. That makes sense because then YouTube has you on their platform longer. YouTube prefers people who create content that makes people stick around. Then YouTube can put commercials into your content. Then YouTube can do all these things because people stay longer. YouTube wants people to press play and stay. So watch time hours is super important. Here's an example for you. I have Living the Next Chapter. It's an author podcast. Over 700 episodes in 3 years. Love that show. It's a really, really well. I do an audio-only episode on YouTube for that podcast. No video, just audio. And all the gurus tell me this doesn't work, but they're wrong because that podcast on YouTube has over 2,500 watch hours for an audio podcast. I'll say it again, 2,500 watch hours for an audio podcast. Every guru I've heard has told me that's impossible, that YouTube must be video. And I'm telling you, they're wrong. Over 2,500 watch hours on an audio podcast. There's nothing happening on the screen when you press play. It's just the audio. So when people tell you that you have to do video on YouTube, it's not true. It's not. You want your watch hours to grow. And that is a super important metric, not just for YouTube. It's important on Spotify, Apple, Audible, everywhere. You want people to press play and stay. So watch time hours, you're going to see that on YouTube, and their stats can make you sad for some episodes that you thought you did really well, but your audience went, meh, and they left. So watch time hours, super important. Another one, views. Traditional YouTube metric, a view is triggered quickly compared to a podcast download. Now, YouTube doesn't give away all their secrets, but a view is basically interaction with your content. And that's what YouTube measures. There's also average view duration, and they use AVD, average view duration, as another metric. And that's the average time a viewer spent on the episode, and it's crucial for understanding listener retention. There's audience retention graphs, and it's a moment-by-moment chart showing where listeners dropped off, where they rewound and went, wait a minute, I want to hear that again, where there's attention spikes, And this feedback is priceless for podcasters who want to refine their intros or segment structure or figure out what the audience is resonating with. Super important. That's audience retention graphs. There's also traffic sources. This shows how listeners found your episode through browsing features, suggested videos, external sources, YouTube search, YouTube music. It tells you where do people find you. That's super great. Demographics, age, gender, geography, far more precise than RSS-based podcast stats. There's returning viewers versus new viewers. That's an interesting one for sure. Shows whether your audience is sticking around or have churned and you're getting different people all the time. Subscribers gained measures how many people have subscribed after watching specific episodes. There's devices used to listen, which helps you see TV versus mobile versus desktop versus YouTube music. There's engagement metrics like likes and comments and shares. And YouTube comments offer a community-like space that traditional podcast players really lack, maybe with the exception of Spotify, because they're doing a really good job with comments within their episodes. But Apple, severely lacking. Here's one thing to consider when you're on YouTube, not just for you as the host, but also your guests. I'm encouraging everyone, when you set up, not if, but when you set up your YouTube channel, to be in your comments. People are talking in your comments about your episodes. You need to be there, not just as the host, but as the guest. If you're a guest on someone's show and your episode goes live on YouTube, you better be in the comments as the guest for that episode on someone else's show. You, as a guest on my show, should be in the comments in our episode together. You, as the host, should also be in the comments for all of the episodes. You can reply directly to people in the comments. You can pin the top comments. You can heart and like the comments. You can filter by questions, recommended for review, contains questions, or unreplied. A strategy tip for you: engaging with comments increases viewer loyalty and sends a positive signal to the recommendation algorithm that there's conversation happening around this episode. YouTube favors interactions between viewers and creators. So everything you can do to jump into the comments will help your podcast and help your channel. So do not sleep and forget about the comments. Be in the comments, whether you're the host or the guest. Be in the comments. You're missing out if you're not in the comments. So what does YouTube show versus what a podcast host shows? So let's break down the difference between platform level metrics on YouTube versus RSS based metrics like Buzzsprout, Captivate, Libsyn, Blueberry. YouTube platform based analytics. YouTube has user level data because listeners log in to YouTube. YouTube gives you exact viewer demographics, precise retention graphs, traffic source breakdowns, engagement metrics like comments, subscriber actions per episode, real-time view counts, device and screen data, video-specific monetization data if you're being monetized. And what you do not get are downloads. YouTube doesn't use RSS as far as distributing out to people. Everything is within YouTube. YouTube does use RSS to bring your podcast in if you set it up, but YouTube doesn't distribute out. So you can't upload to YouTube and then YouTube will send it to Apple and Spotify. That's not how it works. YouTube will bring in your podcast, but it doesn't send it out to other platforms. And what you do not also get is podcast app distribution data. You don't get anything about Apple, Spotify, and other platform behavior because YouTube doesn't have at this point, doesn't have any way to bring in send out stuff to Apple and Spotify and Audible and all that stuff, and has no way to bring it back, the information. So that's what you don't get through YouTube. Now, compared that to your podcast hosting site. So I'm on Buzzsprout, I'm on Captivate, I'm on Spotify for Creators. There's also Libsyn and Blueberry. These are RSS-based analytics. This is what you get through that. These hosts, these podcasting hosts, rely on the IAB podcast measurement standards. They give you total downloads per episode, geographic data. They give you listener apps like Apple, Spotify, Overcast, etc. They give you download trends for the first 7, 30, 90 days, for example, unique listeners, unique downloads. They also give you subscriber growth through RSS follows. They give you episode retention, limited. They don't give you a lot because they don't have all of that first-party data we talk about. And what they don't give you through RSS is exact retention graphs. So there's no moment-by-moment playback data. They don't have user-level demographics. They don't have access to your comments or engagement metrics. They don't have access to traffic source breakdown. And they don't know about any revenue analytics per episode. So how does YouTube compare to Spotify for Creators specifically? Spotify for Creators can give you starts versus streams versus listens. Spotify can give you average consumption percentage, not minute by minute. Spotify can give you follower counts. Spotify can give you Spotify-specific demographics, Q&A, polls, comments, episode performance over time. YouTube gives you more things around video support. Spotify does have video as well. YouTube also will give you information around admin and memberships as well. So you're going to get different things through Spotify than you are with YouTube. I would suggest for you one thing about video on Spotify, just as a side here as we're getting on this, just understand that when you post an audio version of your podcast on Spotify and then a video version of the exact same episode, Spotify defaults to the video over the audio. And if somebody decides to listen to the audio, Spotify will pull the audio from the video, not the audio from the original audio version. Spotify defaults to the video. Whether you watch it or listen, they pull from the video when you give both. So if you want to get good audio stats on Spotify, you might not want to upload video. Or you can have a separate feed for your video, which keeps them separate. The moment that you put both video and audio on the same RSS feed on Spotify, Spotify ignores the audio and defaults to the video, which means your audio stats from Spotify don't report back to your hosting site if you host on Buzzsprout, Captivate, etc. Because the video is different than the audio. The video will always supersede the audio. So just keep that in mind. So yes, you can post video on Spotify. Yes, it works for a lot of shows. But Spotify treats video as the primary and audio as the secondary when you have both. Just keep that in mind. If you post video, you'll see that your audio stats will go down. Traditional audio stats will go down because the video is the primary. So that's one of the things I hear from people all the time. I had great stats on audio in Spotify, and then I uploaded video, and my audio stats went down. That's because Spotify is showing the video or pulling the audio from the video over the original audio format. So if you put a lot of effort into your audio version of your podcast with sound effects and commercials and all this stuff that you do in an audio format, and you make your audio great, and your video is just basically the video as it was, Spotify is going to ignore all of your work on the audio episode and it's just going to pull directly from the video, ignoring the audio completely. So yes, video can go on Spotify just like on YouTube. But keep that in mind. Spotify always leans towards the video over the audio. Something to consider, because that can really mess you up if you're really looking for that information from an audio perspective on Spotify. Now, back to what we're talking about on YouTube. How does YouTube compare to Apple Podcasts Connect then as well? Apple Podcasts, again, as we talked about in the past episode, will give you listens, average consumption, top cities, countries, devices, iPhone, iPad, Mac, followers, and retention curve. General, not as precise as YouTube. So YouTube will give you user demographics. It'll give you engagement, likes and comments, traffic sources, detailed retention, listener identity, and monetization. So there's some things that you're going to get on YouTube that you're not going to get on Apple, and vice versa. Just keep that in mind. What podcasters should watch for on YouTube? Here are 6 things that you should be keeping your eye on when you look at the YouTube studio and the information for your podcast episodes on YouTube. So you should be looking at your watch time. It drives the algorithm, and it's one of the most important things that you're going to see in your podcast on YouTube, all around your watch time. As we mentioned, there's the average view duration, AVD. This is one of your best indicators of storytelling and pacing effectiveness for your episodes. So keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on the retention graph, which pinpoints drop-off moments like we talked about. Maybe your intro's too long. People might be skipping your intro. Maybe there's gaps in your content. Maybe you go on a tangent and people drop off. You'll see on your retention graph, your audience is talking to you by their listening habits and their viewing habits. Traffic sources shows what actually brings listeners in, comments and engagement. Again, crucial on YouTube for you as the host, you as a guest. Be in the comments and engage with people who are leaving you comments. And returning viewers is number 6, which indicates whether episodes keep your audience coming back. So what's the bottom line? YouTube has deeper viewer behavior. It's better for search. It's platform-specific discovery. It's community interactions. And there's the video first element to YouTube that not all audio podcast players have. Traditional podcast hosts equal download analytics across all listening apps, but far less behavioral detail that you'll get from the traditional podcast hosts and apps. And Spotify and Apple, they have strong platform metrics, but YouTube offers the most granular retention and engagement insights that you're ever going to see on any back end. So here's what I'm saying as an overview for all 3 of the episodes we did. We talked about Spotify for Creators, the back end of that even if you're not hosted on Spotify for Creators, you should be on the dashboard for that. Claim your show and watch what's happening on Spotify. Because if you're not, you're missing out on comments, you're missing out on listener data, you're missing out on retention within your episodes. You have no vision to that on your Podbean, Libsyn, Buzzsprout, Captivate. They don't have the data to show you, but Spotify does. So you should be there. You definitely need to be focused on that. And then even if you're not an Apple person like me, you should still be on Apple Podcasts. You should be looking at what's going on with your show. You should be looking at the same things you see on Spotify. You can see specific to Apple on Apple. It doesn't matter if you're an Apple person or not. You should know what's happening with your Apple audience. That's super important. You can see data on Spotify, you can see data on Apple, and you should be looking at YouTube. And you should be on YouTube. And you should be seeing what's happening. Remember, people will find you on YouTube and they'll go other places. Do you have to do video on YouTube? I've proven with Living the Next Chapter that you don't. Should you be doing video on YouTube? It's a video platform. Yeah, they prefer that, and they do a lot of video on YouTube. So if you want to, you can do video. You can do the recording as it is and put it up there on YouTube and be done. Some people will tell you it's terrible to do that, but it's better than not doing it. So do that. If you have the bandwidth to do that, then do that. Do shorts, do little clips, talk about the episode. Face to camera, just grab your phone. Hey, it's Dave from the How to Podcast series. We talked about blah, blah, blah on episode 5. Go check it out and post it. Like, that's all you need to do. YouTube wants to see consistent posting, communication with the audience, engagement, and frequency. That's it. There's no big secrets to growing on YouTube. It's just show up and be part of the community, be part of the ecosystem on YouTube, and you will grow. It might take a while, but you will grow. 2,500 watch hours for an audio. It's watch hours for an audio podcast for Living the Next Chapter. That guru is telling you something they don't know what they're talking about. It works. It works. So I've proven it. I'm going to get up to that minimum threshold to actually be able to monetize on YouTube, and I don't even have video. So that podcaster, that guru is telling you that you can't do audio on YouTube is wrong. And you're listening to the wrong person. You're investing your attention in the wrong person because they're not telling you the truth and they don't know what they're talking about. It works. I can show you my screen. I'll show you exactly what's happening. I don't have nothing to hide from you. You can see what I'm doing on YouTube and you can emulate and copy it. It works. Audio on YouTube works. If I had the bandwidth, I would do video. I would do more video. I would fall in love with video. But I have a job and I have 8 other podcasts. I have 9 shows total. I don't have time to do video for 9 shows. If you have the bandwidth, go for it. Great. If you love video, go for it. Do you have to do video? No. And I have the proof to show it. I can back it up. Every podcaster should not rely solely on their podcast hosting site for all the information that they use to make decisions about their content, their audience, whether to continue podcasting. Am I connecting with an audience? Is this working? Why is nobody talking to me? It's because you're not spending time looking at the information on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, in conjunction with what you're seeing in your stats. Don't just look at Buzzsprout and make decisions for your podcast solely on that. Don't just look at Captivate. Don't just look at Libsyn. Don't just look at Blueberry. But then also go to Spotify, also go to Apple, also go to YouTube and take all 4 of those touch points and make decisions based on the combined information across multiple platforms, because every platform has something to tell you. And if you ignore it, you're only making decisions on one piece of the pie. Focus on the entirety of the pie, not just a slice. And that's going to help you make better decisions for your podcast. You're going to grow. You're going to understand if you have a growth problem or a retention problem. You're going to know if your audience likes your episodes. You're going to know if they like that section when you put the little story in the middle of the podcast. Did that resonate? Yeah, because I see a bump in that section where I did the little story and people rewound and listened to it multiple times. That was a great idea. I'm going to do more of that. I know that people like when I talk about this compared to when I talk about that. I know that people like solo episodes more than they like guest episodes. I can see it when I look at Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and my hosting site. All of those things together will give you a well-rounded picture of how you can make your show better. And if any of this over the last 3 episodes makes your head spin, there's a website for you. It's called howtopodcast.ca. There's a calendar link right there. You and I can get on together. I will show you my screen. You can show me your screen, whatever works. And we will go line by line, platform by platform, and I will show you exactly what I'm saying. Because it's better to see it visual than to hear it audibly. And I love to do that. And that calendar link is always on my website. If I didn't want you to use it, I would take it down. So please use it anytime and use it often at howtopodcast.ca. Let's talk about your podcast and let's help you understand where the growth opportunities are and what you're doing really well and where you could improve. I'm here for you, and I love helping podcasters. I love doing it. I'll do this every day, any day. To have time with you is the joy of podcasting for me, and it's why I created the How to Podcast series, so that I could meet you. howtopodcast.ca. I hope to see you there. I hope to see you in your comments. I hope you'll leave a comment for me on Spotify. I hope you leave a comment for me on YouTube. And Apple, catch up already. Put comments in the episodes. Come on, people. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the end of the podcast. You're here with me. I'm so grateful. I want to put something in front of you. For the person that's listened this far, you're my new best friend. So what I'm trying to do every month is I have a goal, and you can help me with this goal. Very simple. What I'm trying to do is have 5 conversations this month with listeners of the How to Podcast series. You don't have to have a podcast to respond. This can be the first time ever that we're going to have a conversation, but I'm looking to talk to 5 people. Now, you're still here, so you're one of the people that I would love to talk to next. So on my howtopodcast.ca website is a calendar, and I'd love to have you respond on howtopodcast.ca. Just click the calendar link, set up time in my calendar, and in the comments section for the meeting, just put something like listener. That's it. If you have a show, put it in the comments too so I can go listen. But if you don't, I just want to talk to 5 listeners every month from now to the end of the month. So if you're listening to me right now, you're the person I want to talk to. And through howtopodcast.ca, you and I can get together, chat about the show, chat about your journey as a podcaster. Where are you at? What do you need this show to become for you? What's missing? Your feedback. I just want to meet you. And as podcasters, I would encourage you to do something similar to this in your podcast so that you can meet and interact with your audience. So, howtopodcast.ca, I'm looking to talk to 5 people every month, and I would love for you to be one of them. Reach out. It's free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to talk to you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get in the calendar and chat. Thanks for listening. Hey, it's Dave. Thanks for sticking around. Everyone else is gone. It's just you and me. Just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about a question I had from a podcaster. And it was around, they just felt like they were being so inconsistent with their podcast and just scheduling and being committed to their show as a host. They're like, what's the secret to being consistent? And it's a great question. It's something that a lot of podcasters struggle with further on in their show. It's just showing up. Some of it can come down to organization. Some of it can come down to motivation. Some of it can come down to the busyness of life. Consistency is whatever you want to define it as. I would tell you that your audience builds a relationship with you over time, and they just want more time with you. So anytime that we walk away from our show for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, our audience kind of goes, oh, I really liked listening to that show. I love that podcaster. I wish they would continue. I wonder what happened to them. Consistency is key in podcasting, and it's relative. Doesn't mean you have to release an episode every week. Doesn't mean you have to do an episode every day. It could be you do a podcast episode once a month, and you do 12 of them a year, and you're done. Consistency has different levels. It's not about how often you do it, but the fact that you do it on a regular cadence. That's all. And whatever that is for you, again, remember, there's no rules in podcasting. Consistency is key in podcasting, but it's also hard to maintain. That's the one thing I find when I talk to podcasters. Some creators bite off more than they can chew. For example, committing to a demanding release schedule, say multiple episodes per week, a daily podcast. Those are hard. And then finding they just can't keep up. So the way I do this is I love batch recording. Now, some podcasters don't like to do what I do, but for me, it works. I only have 2 days a week where I can really record and focus in on this. I have no children at home, no young children. I have a night job, meaning I'm home in my house. My house is quiet. My wife's at work. The dogs are sleeping. And I can just jump on and record multiple episodes. So I have that freedom where you might not have that freedom. So mileage will vary, okay, between you and me. But for me, it works to be able to record multiple episodes at once. So when I have time to record a podcast, I'll record 2, 3, 4 episodes at once. And I just post date them for the future. It's December 11th right now. And I can record an episode for March 1st right now and make it go live on March 1st. No problem. I can record my Father's Day episode right now. I can record 2026 Christmas episode right now. A year from now, it'll go live. I can create it. I can post it to my hosting site and just put a date on it for next Christmas in 2026. I can do it right now. When I do the November podcast challenge, where we're doing 30 episodes in 30 days, I record those episodes in August for November. I'm not recording them in November. I'm recording them in August. And I just put November dates on them. And whenever I have time, I'll record multiple episodes and post them for the future. It's just being organized. Some people are organized by nature. Some require effort. So it doesn't matter. Either way, anybody can be organized. And if you need help with this and you're just like, how do you do this, Dave? I can walk you through my process. I can show you my screens. I can show you what I do behind the scenes of the How to Podcast series and the 8 other podcasts that I do. Happy to show you. I have nothing to hide. Reach out to me. Love to help you. Be consistent. Why? Because your audience loves you. They love what you do. They love your content. They love the tone of your show. They love your voice. They love your insights. You make them laugh. You make them cry. They look forward to having time with you, like having time with their best friend. There's a great relationship that's built over time as podcasters, and being consistent makes that friendship grow even deeper. So if consistency is your challenge, there's a website for you. It's called howtopodcast.ca. I'll see you over there. Calendar is always available. Love to spend time with you. Thanks for sticking around for the bonus episode stuff at the end, because most people aren't going to hear this. Just you and me. Thanks for being here. Talk soon.